I'm just here for the comments.
Actually, I'm just here for the comments.
I'm here for the comments.
I'm just here for the comments.
I'm just here for the comments.
I am strictly here for the comments.
Hey man, look, I'm just here for the comments.
I am here for the comments, and you should be too.
Here for the Comments podcast with Canden and Maliek.
So we got a lot of news to catch up on. There's a lot going on. Have you been seeing all this stuff in the news?
Yes, there is, like, it's a lot that's been happening. But yeah, tell me what's good or what's not good.
What's not good, first things first, Serena versus Naomi Osaka. Serena lost, but that's not even the big news. The big news is her argument with the umpire. So Serena's in the match, and once again, I'm a little bit biased because my only understanding of tennis is through Venus and Serena. So I support whatever they do. But the umpire accused her of cheating. I guess he saw her coach gesturing, and he said that she was being coached. He was coaching her, and that was cheating. So I feel like she politely walked over to him and was like, hey, just so you might not know me, but I'm not cheating. I don't cheat to win. I would rather lose. And I guess that interaction, her breaking the racket later, and a few other things, it's being couched as Serena blew up on the umpire. I don't think it was bad, though. Like, arguments I've seen in the past, that was mild. I think she handled herself well. But did you see the video?
I did see it. I saw several clips on the magical worlds of social media, and it was interesting. It took me a while to kind of figure out how I felt about it. I mean, initially, I always am on Serena's side. And I was just trying to figure out what was going on. I didn't know if it was like, because I know this is a huge match. This is the U.S. Open. And I'm like, what kind of foolery is happening right now? I think she represented herself very well. She's always been very well spoken. So it's not like anybody who has watched her and seen her knows that she knows how to have a conversation with decency. But also she's a passionate sportsman, or sportswoman, should I say. You know, she knows what she's doing and she's there to win. And, you know, I feel like let them play, essentially. And we've seen instances like this before where it's like, let them play, let the people play so that we can get to the winner. And I just feel like she felt like she was being robbed. So, You know, it's explosive. And I can't be mad at her. I can relate.
That's right. She called him a thief.
She did. She was like, actually, you are the person next to Jesus on the cross right here. You are that. Praise God. Yes. So, you know, I mean, but what I'm wondering is Naomi Osaka, she seems very sweet, very focused, love her, you know, from the little I do know about her. But I did see a clip recently where they were asking her, so how do you feel about it? Do you feel she was justified in her comments? And she was like, I don't know. She was like, I haven't been paying attention to it since this happened. I've been so busy that I haven't really. And I'm thinking in my head, but girl, you was there. Like, what do you mean you've been busy? Like, we weren't there. You were there. But no shade to Osaka because, you know, I don't know her like that. But I'm just saying, she's taking the very politically correct route. And I think she's doing that because she loves Serena a lot as her idol, but also she might feel a certain type of way like, maybe you were whining, but she will never say that. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm just kind of like trying to take it all in like, I feel like Serena was justified because I know her and I know that she demands apologies when there is injustice. And that's what she did. And it's no different from her character any other time.
Yeah. I have to say that I respect her, not even because of how she dealt with the umpire, but because of her supporting Naomi when Naomi won, because I understand like Serena was under a lot of pressure in that situation. And how I am, if I'm upset and somebody's opposing me, so like I feel like the umpire's against me and I'm against this other person in the tennis match, I would just destroy everything in my path. So I just really appreciate how
you really feel, Maliek.
Nah, like if I feel opposed and I get on defense mode, it's just let's just hope you're not in front of me. So it's really good and balanced and mature of her to like be mad at the umpire, but then when Naomi won and the people were booing, she still supported Naomi. She was like, nah, they're not booing you. I heard she was like, they're not booing you, they're booing the umpire. So she wanted her to still enjoy and relish in the moment of her victory. So like, that's really mature of her to like still be supportive, even though she's frustrated with the whole situation.
Yeah, I feel like it was a total frustrating situation for everybody. And I almost wish there could be like a rematch.
Yeah.
Without the drama, because
different umpire.
Even though everyone's saying she won, correct me if I'm wrong, the reason why she won is because there were so many penalty points.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, she may have very well won, but it's just that the world doesn't even know that. They're like, okay, you won, you definitely won, but did you really won according to, this sexist double standard in tennis? So anyways, I mean, I like Osaka, and congratulations on her win. Serena will forever be, amazing, and we'll follow her wherever she goes. So I just don't know, what to say about this, yo.
So did you see the cartoon of Serena?
I did. I did see the cartoon, and I thought it was really racist.
So you did, okay. You thought it was racist.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The way that Osaka was depicted versus Serena was just like ridiculous. But then, I'm not a cartoonist, but I don't think it takes a rocket science to figure out that you were trying to depict her ugly in a way that was just really ugly. Outside of emotional, characteristics, you were trying to depict her in like a monstrous way. And it's kind of offensive.
And I feel like they might kill me for this, but like in the last episode, you were a bit controversial in saying the stuff about Ariana, like, oh, well, the yes. Just hugging people, it was an accident, she's small, so on and so forth. So here I go stepping out there. When I saw the picture, I just thought that it made Serena look unattractive. I think it made her look bigger than she actually is. And it made Naomi look whiter than she actually is. I don't know.
That is the definition of racist, Malik.
It made Serena look big and it made Naomi look brighter. I don't necessarily know if that's racist. It's just not good cartooning. Now,
so you're just saying he did a poor job of cartooning.
Yeah, I think he did a poor job of cartooning. I don't know why, but then I looked at some of his older pictures. And then I think I got a better context for why people are calling it racist, because I do see, like, I didn't begin to look at it as racist until I looked at his previous stuff. And then I was like, oh, okay, I see why they're saying that. But just the picture by itself, I just thought he's trying. When I saw the picture, I just thought, well, clearly this guy is anti-Serena and pro Naomi.
Osaka.
Yeah, that's what I gathered. I didn't think racist at first, but
the way that he just depicted her, it just doesn't even look anything like her. Right. It looks really weird, even with the tongue, the facial structure. It was just like he tried it. He tried it on like 8 different levels. Yeah. But it's a cartoon, so technically you can get away with being like, "Oh, it's my interpretation of art," but it's your interpretation of art as a person who has no like level of race relations, positive race relations. So, I mean, I think it's clearly, I would say it's just a caricature, but I think it's clearly like trying to paint her in a uber ugly way, and she's just not. So it was just kind of weird. It's like, would you paint Beyonce that way? Would you paint anybody that way? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like she was singled out here from what I can see in the cartoon. But that's my 2 cents, and I will. Yeah, that's what I would say about that. But you talked about Ariana. So did you see though that Ariana now came out and she said it was an accident? She felt like it was an accident. You see that?
It was right.
Yes, straight from the horse's mouth. She said, "Listen, I felt like this was an accident." See what I'm saying? My spidey senses be on. They be on. All right, so let's get to some current news. What's happening this week?
So people are still talking about this situation with Botham Jean. So this is an African-American guy in his apartment complex.
That's sad.
the officer, who happens to be a white female. The story goes that she lives in the same complex as him, same building. She accidentally walked into his apartment. She saw something or somebody in the apartment thinking it was hers. She gave verbal cues. The person did not respond, so she shot and killed him. Now, all of it just really sounds really stupid to me. I mean, it's just like really like, I'll say that I think Black men have been lynched in a lot of different ways in America over the years. I feel like over the past maybe 10 years, there has been a concerted effort toward targeting, or I guess it's become more visible with social media, police targeting Black men and police brutality. And at one point in time, I feel like they tried to cover it up. They really put thought into trying to cover it up. And they tried to lie well, is my point. They tried to lie well. But this don't even seem like a good lie at all. It just seems stupid all around. And maybe because she acted alone and it wasn't a concerted effort, it was just her personal issue with him. But the story just doesn't even, when I first heard it, it doesn't sound right. Like, I don't understand how someone gets into an apartment that's not theirs and then things are dark, but you can't, it just, it doesn't even make sense to me at all.
Yeah, this is a toughie. This is a toughie for me because I feel like we've been trained because we've seen so much injustice and so much racial tension that we have in a way been trained to think that everything is race related. Now, I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying we don't know for sure that it is. And it's a very sensitive spot because initially you're like, that definitely doesn't make sense. You know, if it don't add up, it's because it don't make sense, you know, and that's just how we think about things. But people have done really negligent, dumb things. And even though I think that it definitely could have been like homicide, like, oh, she set out, what I mean is because it was definitely homicide, but like premeditated homicide. I don't know. Have they been able to connect her with him? Because otherwise there would be no reason, unless she was a disgruntled neighbor. Like I don't like, I see him and I hate him and I have a history of like swastikas and, you know what I'm saying? Like if it was like a higher learning type deal. But I really don't see what indication we have to connect the dots to the fact that like, oh, she just wanted to kill a Black man in his own house. And so I'm grappling with that, with the realization that yes, it's stupid. Like, yes, you're like, who walks into a house and just shoots somebody? It says they thought it was their house. So that's not adding up. But at the same time, what motive? Usually people have a motive for killing somebody. And right now we don't see any racially related motive for her. So I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, does she have a history of like shooting up Black people? You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to figure out how we get to these conclusions, or are we just so used to being discriminated against that we automatically jump when we see a Black person was murdered to, oh, it's racially related.
Right. Yeah. So I do think there are situations like, because we've had so many issues as far as the people in this country, that sometimes we'll do what some people call race baiting and say it's a racial issue when it's not. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's the case here, because I'm not sure if the argument, from my perspective, my argument, and I think many others' argument, is not that she killed him because he was Black, but it's that now that he's dead, because he's Black, the death doesn't matter, because she's an officer, she's going to get away with it. And once again, right, victim's Black, we now demonize him. So like, I understand that a lot of people, his family was upset that they're releasing information. Oh yeah, there was weed in his house. Like, that's completely irrelevant when someone has come into your home and killed you. Whether or not you had weed doesn't matter. If he was selling weed, if he was smoking weed, regardless, that doesn't justify someone coming into his house killing him. Yes. And there should be justice for him. So like, I don't necessarily know if people are trying to prove that she killed him because he was Black, but it's frustration because of how it's being treated now that he's dead. And I think he's getting the treatment that he's getting because she's Black. And there are people trying to cover for her because she's a cop. And I don't believe in this whole blue wall of silence. I think it exists, but I don't think it's right.
Yeah.
I think in many cases, police officers cover for each other in ways that are unhelpful for building unity in the community.
Wow.
In ways that are really not helpful for Black people, because once again, sin invades every area of society.
Yeah.
Some would refer to our current state as total depravity. And it seems like people have a hard time. People believe the idea of total depravity because of our fallen nature. We're depraved and in need of a savior, and there's no good within us outside of Christ. However, people believe that, but those same people tend to have a hard time seeing how that total depravity can affect certain people or organizations they see as heroic, specifically like the police department or veterans or people in certain public office like president. People have a hard time seeing how sin and depravity plays out in the lives of people with those positions. But it's like, once again, if you believe in this theological concept that we all as humans are fallen, this doesn't exclude people who you see as heroic. So police can make mistakes, police can be racist, and police can misuse their power.
Absolutely. Amen to the amen. True, true, true. I definitely do see, like, okay, will justice be done? Will this be another situation where the perpetrator gets off because they're a cop or because they're white or because XYZ? So I definitely do relate to that. I think largely we need to start looking at it not only as a racial issue, as you said, but as a blue issue, because I think that was so much of the problem. Like, it really bothered me with like Black Lives Matter and everything. It was so racially charged that it didn't like leave a little room for how police brutality in general is a thing against a lot of different types of races, more so often against brown and Black people. However, I've seen videos, illustrations, personal illustrations of police brutality or excessive force in like a normal situation where you would say, why couldn't you disable, or why couldn't you do an alternative? You know what I mean? So definitely, I think it's sad. First of all, it's sad. It's very sad for Botham's family, for the people, for just him not even being able to continue his life because it was very recklessly taken. And I also think it's just a combination of those two, not only just the racial issue, but also the issue of like cops not having diversity training. They're not getting, their psychological evaluations don't include some sort of cultural sensitivity. They're trained like military, that kind of thing. And it's just all contributing to like this weird reactive, like when I get scared, I'm going to kill you type thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not really cool on that, but and the demonization of Black people, yeah, it's always some weed somewhere. It's always some drugs somewhere planted on them, because that's what y'all like to say in the media. And a lot of people smoke weed. White people smoke. Where I'm from in California, more white people smoke weed than Black people. But you know, it is like perpetrated. These stereotypes are perpetrated to one race. So yeah. Definitely I hope God is with the Botham family and everything, but sad story, and hopefully the justice is done according to how it needs to be issued from the heavens.
Yeah. And from a legal perspective, I would recommend, I support everything she said. Judge Faith was on The Breakfast Club. Go check out that interview. I encourage people to check out that interview, Judge Faith on The Breakfast Club. And in the opening parts of the interview, she discusses this situation with Botham Jean. And specifically, she says that if she was the judge in charge of litigating this situation, she says that actually it wouldn't have been a manslaughter charge. She believes it should have been second-degree murder, because the officer pulled out the gun and willingly shot. Had every intent to shoot the man. So there
was no scuffle. Like, she didn't have no marks, no bruises. She just took out the gun and just like shot the first. Did she say she was startled? Like,
She
how
said
did she
he didn't
explain this
respond to
situation?
her
I
command.
want to talk to her. Like, I want to sit her down and be like, so what happened? What happened with you? Like, what happened? You were startled, and because you were startled, you turned around and shot. Were you looking at her when you shot? Like, I'm just trying to figure out, is this gonna be televised? Will the revolution? I'm just playing. But will it be? But will it be on TV so that we can see it like the OJ trial?
Yeah, I'm not sure what her intent was. I'd love to talk to her too. We need to try to get her on the show. We'll interview her next week. I doubt she'll accept the invite though. She ain't come and talk to us.
She ain't trying to answer my question.
She ain't talking to nobody, really.
I need a whole book on why this happened, because that's just, it's very odd. It is not odd for people to be startled and to shoot, but to shoot to kill. How many times was he shot? I need the details. How many times did you shoot him? Like, there was no scuffle. He didn't try to attack you because you're in his apartment. So he could have thought you were an intruder. Did he run towards you? Did he hit you? Were you bleeding? Like, were you scared? And then you were like, oh, pow, pow. Like, it's just too many unanswered questions here. But I hope they get to the bottom of it. And yeah, if it was an accident, she going down in the Guinness Book of World Records for the worst one in the history of life.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, maybe we can talk about something happy.
Yeah, I'm about to say, we have some things to acknowledge. Well, I mean, this isn't as happy, but I think it's a good transition toward some better news. But we didn't get to speak on this, but last week was 9/11. So we just want to take some time to acknowledge the families and the lives that were lost, celebrate the lives that they lived, and continue to pray for the families that are mourning those losses in this 11th attack. So yeah, we're praying for those families and moving forward with acknowledgments. We also want to highlight, acknowledge, and celebrate Black excellence. Mr. John Legend, Mr. Ordinary People, becoming the second African-American EGOT, that is winning an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. The first was Whoopi Goldberg, and now we got John Legend. How about that?
All right, glory. Yeah, John Legend.
I see what you did there.
You see what I did there? You talking about some acknowledgments, like this is the church program. I just had to, I had to come behind you with the glory. But yeah. I love John Legend. He's has some awesome songs, and he's definitely a very inspirational person of affluence. So definitely congratulations to him on racking that up. Now, tell the people again, Malik, what he won, because you had to explain this to me earlier. What is the EGOT? What does that look like? What is that comprised of? So he has multiple Grammys, but an EGOT is pretty much someone who has won each of these 4 awards: an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. The first African-American person to do it was Whoopi Goldberg. John Legend is the second, but there are several other Caucasian actors, actresses, performers, artists who have accomplished this as well. But yeah, John Legend is the second African-American to do it. So congrats. And he's young. He's only 39 years old.
Yeah, so he's the youngest, I think, too, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Congrats to John. I'm an extraordinary person, but I still listen to your joints.
In addition to that, we have to, once again, what's up? We're going up and down, sad up, sad down, congratulations up, and then sad back down because of Hurricane Florence came through. Several lives in South and North Carolina have been lost over there in the South. So I spent my past 6 years in North Carolina. My brother and his family actually live there, but they're fine. But there were some lives lost. I know specifically there was one, a mother and her child lost their lives because I think a tree fell on their home. So there were lives lost, and I think there's expectation that there will be more lives lost due to the aftermath of the hurricane and flooding. So once again, we also want to pray for the victims of this recent natural disaster. Of course, people in the South, in North and South Carolina, but people all over who are affected by it, who may be family members of victims.
So Hurricane Florence. I'm just trying to figure out how people in a region, when we know that a hurricane is coming, how do we die? Like, I mean, I know you said the tree fell, and then I also know a building collapsed. So that contributed to several of the deaths. From what I know, 33 people died. One person in Virginia, a few people in North Carolina, and then there was another region. But like, I'm just trying to figure out, if we know it's coming. Like, there were some people who evacuated, and then there were other people who stayed. But like, how are they dying? Are they drowning? Besides the collapsed building and the collapsed tree, how are they getting swept away by water? Like, I am so far removed from natural disasters like that. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just like, why are 33 people seems like a lot of people to die to me for a flood we knew was coming.
Yeah. So I thought about that too. And I was like, there was so much news coverage. There was so much talk about it beforehand. Why would anybody die? But I do think part of that is not everybody has the resources to just up and leave. Some literally don't have the option to just, let's go to this state and stay with such and such. Like, their only home or their only landing spot is their house. So they have to just stay in their house and hope for the best. And I realized, like, when I thought about that, I was like, whoa, that's a level of privilege that I have to just say, if something's coming, I'm going to go stay with such and such. I got family all over the place. You know, I'll drive my car or I'll fly or whatever, and I'll just go. But that's privilege. Not
that's so real.
Just up and leave.
That's so real. That's so real. Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah, definitely praying for people that are in those regions. Hopefully they get the resources that they need. But that definitely sheds some light on it. And sometimes we come from places of privilege and we don't even realize it. So that's the whole thing. That's a whole other conversation. Well, hopefully Florence will disperse as soon as it came, and we can get back to sunny. Growing up in California, I'm definitely privileged because, you know, we don't even have the 4 seasons, let alone hurricanes and volcanoes and, you know, a lot of these things. Now we do have wildfires. So yeah, everybody has their thing, but we didn't have a lot of the things that are happening in other regions. So I guess I have been born with a silver spoon, a silver sunny sky spoon. So anyway, shout out to all the people who are kind of drying things off and recuperating from Hurricane Florence. Yeah, man.
Let's turn things political for a little bit. And, you know,
do we have to?
I gotta be real. So I was thinking about this. I was like, you know, Donald Trump is in the news every week. And I'm like, we can't let him dominate our podcast because we cannot be talking about him every week because he always does something.
No comment.
So, but this time technically it's not him directly, but it's his Supreme Court nominee. So President Trump has nominated Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah.
He has not been approved as of yet. And I think, once again, this political cycle is a little more catty than normal, I think. And part of that is, I think, some political posturing, whether true or not, to muddy the name of the candidate that's being put forward. So Brett Kavanaugh's name is out there, put out there by President Trump. And recently, a woman has come forward, and she says that a while ago when they were in high school, I think over 30 years ago, she says that Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her. He did not actually rape her, but he forced himself on her, groped her, and touched her inappropriately while others watched. And I think the debate is, should this be looked into more? Should it be dismissed because it's so old? And also, I think people are arguing about the Democrats who are opposing President Trump in this nomination, and that they think that it's just political posturing. So it's like, you're only bringing this up because you don't want him to get pushed through. So we should invalidate the whole thing. I'll say that it's just interesting, right? Because I don't think raping, touching women or men inappropriately, any of that stuff is okay. Sexual assault is inappropriate. So I don't support that at all. But at the same time, I wonder, how do we determine what should be pursued or not? Do timelines play a part? Should past mistakes disqualify one from public office? Like, how do we filter through these things in deciding how this should work? Because, and then what's the barometer for what's an acceptable mistake versus what's not an acceptable mistake? Because as Christians, we say all sin is sin. God doesn't say, well, this sin is not as bad as that sin, and this sin is a light diet sin, but your sin is a double
light diet sin.
You know, God's not saying that. So, like, in the public sphere, how do we determine what should disqualify someone from consideration for public office, and what should and what shouldn't?
That's actually a really good question, and that is so on target with bringing us into our topic kind of discussion of the podcast. I'm actually here completely for what people have to say about this. I honestly don't know. I do think that there are certain things that will happen when you are younger, things that you will do that will be evil and reckless. And I think that should you be held accountable for those things? Yes. Should those things haunt you for the rest of your life? No. So I'm not sure how we kind of deal with this, being that it was 30 years ago. Was he ever held accountable for it then? You know, I think at this point it is, for me, it would be a double standard for me to say, yeah, he should be held accountable and he shouldn't be in office because XYZ. But really, I think a lot of people are in jail right now for doing things that they did a long time ago.
Or even less.
Yeah, a long time ago. And I think, you know, my desire is for a person who is in their teens or in their college years not to spend the rest of their life in jail because of something that they did in those times. But I also realize that a certain amount of justice has to be served. So this is kind of a hard topic for me. I think what makes it worse is the fact that the Trump administration in general, being associated with Trump, has had a lot of issues with sexual problems, sexually related behavior. And that's what makes it worse. But in itself, Kavanaugh's, you know, story doesn't give me that much alarms. His association with Trump gives me more pause than what he did 30 years ago. Though it may be, you know, punishable. He should have been punished for it then, because it's 30 years later, and who knows the type of person he is now.
Yeah. So should who you grow into later erase what you've done in the past?
No, it doesn't erase it.
Yeah.
I don't think so. What do you think?
No, I don't think it erases it completely, but I think it just seems like a case-by-case thing. I don't know if there's a one-size-fits-all solution for this. As it pertains to him and being on the Supreme Court for a lifetime appointment, no. I don't think he should be confirmed. I don't even think it should go to a vote because of these accusations, if they are somehow substantiated. Now, before we hopped on to record, I did find out that one of the witnesses to the assault is choosing not to testify, which is, once again, very interesting. He's choosing not to testify, but I think, not to get into a deep political conversation, but I think there are things that transpired even before the info came about the sexual assault, things that happened under President Obama that I think will put me in a position where I say it's not right to put this person forward. But that's just my opinion. But that then begs the question of, how do we look at leaders in the public sphere, not necessarily pastors or ministers, but even in voting? I know in the presidential cycle when Hillary was running against Donald Trump, a lot of my conservative white Christian friends would say, we're not voting for the pastor in chief, we're voting for the president. So all of that moral stuff and whether or not he cheated on his wives, him having sex with a porn star, none of those things matter because it's not about being a pastor. But once again, these are also the same people who support the Republican Party because it is the quote unquote party of family values?
So, Trump in general is just a distasteful person.
Yeah.
Like, it's very hard to like swallow most of his not only personality but his actions before the presidency and during the presidency. So with that being said, it's just like, I don't know that I would appoint a leader that has no moral compass, or has a seeming moral compass but does debauchery on a regular basis as well.
Yeah.
So I am very surprised. I don't think he should be judged. I don't think he should be tried in a court of law for his own personal choices and his freedom of speech, what he chooses to say when he exercises it. However, should he then be our president? I don't know that I would have chosen a leader, well, no, I do know that I definitely wouldn't and didn't choose a leader that has those types of behavior consistencies. But my opinion is that, people get bored and they get tired and they just start wanting something new, and they will run to whatever the controversial thing is, even if it's not fully exposed as being so far extremely, gross. So I think leaders need to have some sort of accountability for their actions. And if good actions and positive, impact on the world in general is going to be rewarded, I think that leadership should be the reward. And so I don't understand why it's the reward for something that you didn't, if you don't have good character, I don't think you should be a leader. That's inside the church, outside the church, whatever you want to say. Like, good character is important. And so for that reason, I think that creates a lot of problems for Kavanaugh, for a lot of different people that are part of the Trump administration, because it's like, you're supporting someone who just has no real compass for decency in the things he says and in the things he does. So for me, I think in general, we don't have to put a cross on it. It just needs to be that you operate with integrity and, impact the world positively. And I don't know how much Trump has done that.
Yeah. Yeah. And perspective on that is interesting. It's just very, very relative, because I know some Christians that would say he's doing a bang up job. And there was a pastor, was it Daryl Scott, who said he's the most pro-black president ever. I know some conservative pastors will say he's the most pro-life president ever, and he's just made so much progress. And it's just interesting how we can look at the same thing but see it in a radically different way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Trump, it's cool. I mean, I believe in some of the stuff he believes in. I don't necessarily believe in him as a person, as a leader, but I think that he's capable of making, good choices. I think his methodology for making them is not good. So yeah, I mean, it's something to think about, actually. And you guys let us know what you think. Like, should leaders be held to a certain standard, even if they're not pastors? Should we say, this is what shapes a leader, and then not allow some people through that door? Because what does that look like? Does that look like, where do we cut it off? Do we say, well, if you have a record of sexual assault, no, you're not a good leader? I think repeated behavior, consistent misconduct, and no respect for people and for other cultures and regions, to me, would indicate someone who's should not be rewarded with leadership. But one incident, maybe not so much, unless the incident was just you were a serial killer for a day. I mean, So it's hard to say, you know, it is hard to kind of drop that. Where are you dropping that gavel on these leaders? But I think the fruit, you should know them by the fruit. And I think if they got a lot of rotten fruit, you may need to sit this one out. Just go ahead and take the bench, honey. Go ahead and take it.
Yeah, I have a lot that I want to and could say about this administration, how Christians engage politically and all that stuff, but I don't want to spend any more of our time on that. I think we can divvy that out over the course of a few weeks and maybe dedicate an episode or a time slot toward it. But let's get on to the next thing. So once again, following up from last week, you might have heard at the end of our last episode, that we are doing listener letters. Yes. So we can hear from you guys who are listening. You can give us your comments on what we're saying, but also send in questions that we can answer on the following week's podcast. So we're following up on a lot of news from last week and this week. So we're not doing any listener letters this week, but we're just going to take some more time for you to send in your emails to H4, the number 4, H4C pod at P4, the number 4, CM.com. That's H4C pod at P4CM.com. You can send in your listener letters this week, and we will answer some of them and respond to you on next week's episode. Now, for this week's topic.
Topics.
Conversation that Canden and I have privately, and we just bring our private conversations public for you to give your comments as well. So Canden, let them know what we're talking about this week.
Okay. So I think that, you know, something has been happening lately, you know, over here in the East Coast, we have 4 seasons, right? I know you West Coast folks, you only have 1, or maybe you have 2, and that's sunshine and not sunshine. But over here on the East Coast, we have 4 seasons, and we have a little something called cuffing season. Now, cuffing season, let me preach on this for a second, is associated with times in the year that are a little more colder, a little more wintry, a little more fall-ish, pumpkin spice latte, you know. Yeah. And so that is, you know, what cuffing season is associated with. And what that means is that, you know, you might feel a little chilly. You might need a warm embrace. The problem is that most of the time, the warm embrace is from a member of the opposite sex. Can I get an amen? And I can't get no help in the H4C podcast. But the thing is, you know, what we want to know is it okay for millennials who are trying to keep boundaries intact in their relationships to engage in a little cuddle, a little cuff here and there? You know, do we think that that's like a good idea? Like Bae comes over and you guys just like kind of comfy up on the couch because, you know, it's pumpkin spice latte season. You know, do we think that that is good for to hold the boundaries intact? And Maliek, I'm very, very excited to hear your opinion on this as a man. You know, are we pro cuff, anti-cuff? How are we doing this? How are we doing life?
So yeah, cuffing season, spooning, kissing, tongue kissing, and all that. I kind of lump a lot of them together. So well, when I share my view on this with other, specifically male friends, I'm definitely in the minority. So I don't have the verse in front of me right now, but I think it says pretty much to flee sexual immorality, right? And so I don't think that necessarily means that there should be no physical touch in relationships. Of course, when you're single, I'm not saying that. But I do think that a lot of us need to take an honest self-assessment about where we are with our propensities or with our sexual urges. And just to be very blunt with you, you know, a lot of people deal with horniness. People get excited. People are sexually aroused, and we got to be real about that. You know, I think so often the idea of sex or sexuality or physical intimacy is taboo. So because we don't talk about it, we just think that it's not happening, but it is. And I think a lot of people are shocked. Parents that I've talked to are shocked when they find out that their kids are sexually active, or that such and such a son or daughter used to do this or is known for this. So I just think first, before even getting into cuffing and spooning and all that stuff, we need to destigmatize conversations about sex. Like Christians, I just think a lot of times are scared to talk about it. And I wonder if that is from shame. Like people know what they're doing behind closed doors, so they're scared to talk about it because they don't want people looking at them. But I think more conversations need to happen around it. Yes. And maybe I'm more comfortable talking about these things because I don't necessarily feel like I have anything to hide. So I can be honest in saying that as a male who did not, and it depends on whose standard, but I would say biblically, I did not honor my future wife in maintaining complete abstinence. So with that in mind, I have crossed certain lines that I recognize are wrong and am now trying to move toward abstinence and not becoming sexually active. For me, through God's grace, I've been able to maintain and stay focused, and even through different relationships, still maintaining my focus in there since 2010. So it's been a good 8 years.
Yes.
So, you know, but with that, I think that's because I was realistic about my weaknesses and set boundaries. So I think
that's real.
We don't like setting boundaries when we want to cross the line. What's the point of a boundary if I actually want to cross the line? And with that, I'll speak for men. We need to ask the question, one, before I do whatever this is, whether it is a kiss, a long hug, a spoon, what is this doing for me? And don't stop there, because a guy might come to the conclusion, well, because I've already crossed the line, I've had full out sex before, that a long hug, a spoon, or a kiss, none of that means anything to me because I've been much further. So this is light work. So that's fine if you come to that conclusion for you, but do the due diligence of also guarding the heart of the person you're dating. So after after you've asked, is this okay for me? Is this not leading me into temptation or to sin? You have to do the due diligence of filling out, what is this doing for her?
Right.
And a lot of times I think guys don't care to ask that question. It's just like, well, I think a lot of us, for those that aren't just being completely, you know, having a free for all with our sex life, because there are some Christians that I know they're doing that. But for those of us that aren't doing that, we settle for doing everything short of penetration. And I don't think that's appropriate, because we have to ask about the heart behind what I'm doing.
Yes.
Now, just to clarify, before all the fellas X me out, I'm not saying that it can't happen. Don't ever kiss, don't ever hug, don't ever say it, don't do that. But I'm saying the heart behind it matters, because I will say there are areas where I think certain physical touch is appropriate. My pastor, who's also my brother, had to give me this balance, because I don't want to be extreme, but he gave me the balance of, well, if you're in a dating relationship and you are getting to know this young lady, and you may find out something along the lines of her not feeling beautiful, her being self-conscious about certain parts of her body, there's various things that you might find out about her, and certain physical gestures may be very honorable. A hug at a certain time, I think a kiss on the cheek, certain things done with the right heart and in the right setting, I think can be very honoring to Christ as well. So I'm not saying X all physical contact out completely, but just being honest, talking to a lot of guys, most of us are not in the camp of what I just mentioned. The camp of being able to just do something as a gesture for affirming her. We're more of us are in the camp of wanting to grab, touch, feel for our own physical gratification. I know I just said a lot.
Wow. So. Wow. Okay. No, you know what? You talking good, Malik. The thing that I find interesting though, and what some guys would, I'm gonna play and normally this is not the role I play, best believe, but I'm gonna play the male advocate on this one.
Okay.
Some women, right? This is where we try it. We tend to think if men are not physically affectionate with us, that something is wrong.
Right.
Okay. That's a common sort of issue I find with, relationships, dating relationships in, the spiritual world. It's just like if he don't, want to touch me, then I feel more apt to doing things to make him want to touch me. And then that is
stumbling block.
Yo, no, that is real. A lot of us ladies, we will become stumbling blocks because we will then try to be like, oh, well, he needs to find me more attractive, obviously. And, so then we want you to touch us, and I feel like that can be a thing. And so a lot of guys will say, well, I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about her. Like, she wants to kiss me. She wants, me to grab her booty,
Mm-hmm.
But I also, so yeah, what do you have to say? What do you have to say about that? Because I know what I have to say about it, but I want to hear what you got to say about it.
I think a lot of times women can be manipulative and they may or may not realize it. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned in the physical sense, the woman wanting to know, I want to know that he feels a certain way about me. And I think sometimes women are stuck on a feeling being expressed a certain way. So they do whatever they can to get that expression because that's how they think through. That's the lens they think through. Mm-hmm. But we have to realize that not everybody expresses certain feelings the same way that we receive it. So if a woman thinks that physical contact means he cares, that's how you receive love, physical touch, but that may not be how he gives it. Mm. So don't force people to fit within your paradigm. So the other example I was going to use of, I think sometimes where our sisters may not realize they're being manipulative, maybe because a lot of guys aren't good communicators, women feel the need to create certain scenarios to see how he reacts to then judge what he's really thinking rather than just.
That's so good, yo.
But I pride myself on being a good communicator. So you don't have to read in between the lines with me. I can make my point. I can use words. I can communicate verbally. But I think because a lot of brothers struggle with that, what sisters end up doing is rather than asking, are you willing to fight for me? Rather than just asking that question, she'll create a scenario where he has the option to fight or not. And just
then to see what he's going to do.
See what he's going to do.
Yeah, we do that. We do that.
Yeah. I remember this girl in college, I try to be a friend too. And this is another conversation, but I have platonic female friends. So I don't just engage females that I'm attracted to. I may, or, I don't always have an end goal of a romantic relationship. So in college, I had a few female friends who were just friends and they would talk about other stuff they've experienced in other relationships. And one of them, she shared that, and I thought she was so crazy after she said this, but she broke up with her boyfriend and she told him, I don't want to be with you anymore. And he took a deep breath and he just said, okay. And he didn't bother her anymore. And this is about 5 years later. 5 years later, she hasn't dated since. And she's still stressed and crying about the fact. And she said to me, he didn't fight. He didn't argue. He didn't try to keep me. And I'm like, yo, and this is before me too, but it's as men, it's to a certain extent, yeah, fight, but I also have to honor your request. And based on her explanation, they have had a lot of back and forth. And I completely understand why he just backed off and let her do what she was doing. So it's she literally didn't want to break up with him, But she threw it out there, and because he didn't follow up the way she wanted, she now thinks he doesn't care. He didn't love her enough to fight for her, is what she said. And I'm like, yo, I don't know the dude, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't thinking through it like that. You had him all wrong.
Okay. So men, yes, having boundaries, I think, in relationships is really good. Also think that men, to a certain degree, have the ability to cover and purify a woman, even if she shouldn't be manipulative, but I mean, even if her perspective of it is, I want to experience affection, I think that is it's good to once again have communication between genders as far as what that looks like in a way that doesn't put you both in danger. And like it puts you in spots where you can compromise. So I definitely will agree that women, we can try it a little bit. But I definitely think that men have the ability to be like, actually, we're going to take a different route as a leader. And kind of set the tone. Both people kind of set the tone in the beginning for, what they want to see happen in the relationship, and then their actions should match up with the end goal. So yeah, y'all might need to just go ahead and go to Starbucks and get your pumpkin spice latte and sit on your couch alone and drink it. Because, cuffing season is not cuffing season for you. Okay. It's actually talk on the phone season. Okay. Continue to do that. Talk on the phone, talk about the scriptures or something. Praise God for that. Yeah. But I do agree that affection in very positive, affirming ways can be good. It is, in my experience, harder to keep the boundaries in those things from spiraling a little bit further down and a little bit further down and a little bit further down until it's completely away. And so, yeah, just being ultra considerate of how this will affect you and your body and your desires and how it will affect the other person, I think is like monumental, Malik. So definitely agree with that. Some people gonna listen to this podcast and still be like, listen, I'm a cuff because I want to cuff, and it's gonna be some cuffing going on, right? Because they're gonna be acting in the spirit of rebellion. But at least we told you, don't try to cuff, because then you gonna come trying to, we gonna see you and you gonna be like, oh well, I went half on a baby, and then we told you, that's what the cuff is gonna lead to. But one morning, you will be able to cuff, should you operate in integrity in your singleness.
Right.
What I think. I think the cuff is awesome, just in the right appointed time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't think God is, and we're not anti-sex at all. It's just in the proper context, and I always say this, I think oftentimes many of us, we don't deal with the depths of who we are and what has shaped us. So because we haven't dealt with like past hurt or trauma, we don't really understand why we do the things we do. Even though if we took time to unpack those things, we'd understand our relationship patterns. Like, why does this keep happening? Well, it's because of that. So we got to take the time to do the self-assessment. And I think if more of us did that, we'd find that we have an unhealthy view or unhealthy prioritization of relationships, in the specifically romantic relationships, in the sense that we want someone to cuddle, kiss, hug, text in the morning so bad that we're willing to settle and have something bad rather than have nothing at all. And I think that's backwards. That's not God's best for us either. God isn't as pressed to see you dating somebody as you are. He'd rather you wait.
Come on and tweet that. God isn't as pressed to see you dating somebody.
He's not thirsty. God's not thirsty.
Yeah, because he's living.
Yeah. So
go ahead and shout now.
Come on now. See, we need an organ on this podcast. That's what.
Don't we? Come on. Can I get a what do the organ got? Do it got the same thing as a piano? Can I get an E chord on the organ?
It has keys.
Can I get a C? Can I get a C chord? All right. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah. So like my point is, don't settle for just anybody just because you don't want to be without someone. And also, even after you're in the relationship, you know what? Let's make this clear, because I know some can hear this, because many have fallen sexually. I admit it, that I have. So I'll say this. This isn't condemnation to anyone who has fallen into fornication. This isn't condemnation, but it's just calling out, like, don't fall and then lay there. Like, get up.
Right.
And I guess that's the thing. Like, a lot of times, because this particular sin is a very pleasurable, comfortable one, we fall in it and we stay there. And this is just saying, hey, get up. So even if you're dating right now and you're listening to this and you and your relationship were cuffing or spooning, and then that turned into something else, there's redemption for that too. I don't think everyone that has fornicated has to break up. I'm not saying that, but I do think that what would ultimately be helpful, that I think our generation does not take advantage of, is accountability from other Christians and other couples. Everybody's really bent on keeping their business private, yet we post everything on social media. But it's like people are so bent on, well, it's our business, it's my relationship. But God gave you community for a reason. And I think the community that God has given us is so that we can have a pool of wisdom and counselors from others, so we don't have to keep making the same mistakes. But we deprive ourselves of that opportunity if we become so prideful and say, we got this, we're going to do our relationship in private, when that's not the way God intended.
Yeah, that's very true. So let me translate for y'all. There's no condemnation for you. If you fallen, you can get back up. You can buy you a Snuggie. You can get you a onesie. You don't need to be cuffing, spooning with nobody.
A onesie is a onesie.
You can turn up the heat. A onesie is for one. Okay, party for one. Okay. And I like what you said about the couples. Just like, you don't have to break up unless the Lord is calling you to do so. Actually, there's this couple that has been all the rave lately in the Kingdom community, Toby and Fat. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but Toby is a rapper. And I think his full name is Tobigwe. Please forgive me, all of you of African descent, if I did not say that right. But just go to the comments and tell me how to pronounce it. But
with the phonetic spelling.
Right, with the phonetics, so I can get it right. His name is Tobigwe, I believe, and he's a rapper. And he's married to who he calls Fat. I don't think that's her real name, but you know how we do in the community. And they have a really awesome testimony on YouTube about how they had fallen and essentially gotten back up and just restored themselves to their rightful position. And it did end up working out really well for them. Obviously, they on the road doing shows and stuff together as husband and wife. So just to encourage some of you who may have been in those situations or even are in those situations right now, it's getting cold out here. Listen, I need you to get some apple cider. I need you to get a grip, and all that get a grip on your life. And so we can restore you back to your position so that you can really have the inheritance that the Lord has for you. Okay. Stop stifling it during cuffing season. And for all my California people, y'all ain't got cuffing season, but y'all still cuffing. So, y'all know what it is. Y'all be at the beach cuffing. So we gonna keep that together. But listen, guys, we've enjoyed this. We don't want to. We would love to keep you, but we can't. So we won't. And we'll be back with another episode weekly of Here for the Comments. That is essentially what we do. We want to keep you in the know. We also want to get your opinions. We want to talk about things that are relevant to the culture here. The Passion for Christ movement has been doing that for years, just staying relevant, not only in conversation, but in performing arts. And so we just want to bring in kind of a new type of thing to you. There's nothing that we won't talk about. So once again, like Maliek said, please send in your listener letters. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to talk about, what you want to deal with. Hashtag H4C pod. And, you know, tell us what you think. Put your thoughts in the caption, you know, DM us. And we'll be sure to include some of your statements and your comments in our weekly episodes. Is that cool?
Yes. Subscribe on iTunes. We drop our full episodes on iTunes, P4CM's Facebook page, and P4CM's YouTube page. So comment, like, subscribe everywhere. And if you have an issue, a thought, or a question with what we said about cuffing season, which I'm sure you do, let us have it at the email h4cpod@p4cm.com.
Yes.
And you can send emails there from your email or from your phone. So go for it. Let us hear from you, and we will get back with you next week. But until then, may the Lord watch between us and y'all while we're absent one from the other.
Well, won't he do it?
Peace.
Deuces.